Subroutines in Perl are declared with a block, and that block has the code that the subroutine executes when it's called. And so just like with any block in Perl, you need to be concerned with the scope of the variables that you use inside that block. So let's take a look at that, and we will make a copy of subs.pl for our working space here, and we'll call it scope.pl, and we'll open that up. And one of the first things that you'll notice is in our subroutine message, we have this variable here, $m, and it's declared with my. And what that does is it keeps the scope of that variable inside of this block. And this block, of course, is the body of the subroutine. This is actually very important. You want to make sure that the variables that you're using, that you're declaring inside of your subroutine, are local to that subroutine, are owned by that subroutine, and cannot be accessed or modified from outside. There are ways to get around it, but you really don't want to. It's a lot cleaner to just make sure that your variables are your variables. For example, if I were to have a $m outside of here and have it be some other string, I want to know that this $m inside of this subroutine is the one that I'm actually printing. So this is the one that's having the string passed from the function call there. So when I save it and run it, you'll see that that is the $m that is being accessed. If I had a global variable, say something that's declared outside of the scope of any of these blocks, then it's certainly possible to reference that from inside. If I say have a $G out here and yet another string, and I wanted to say print that every time I print something here. So I could say $G like that. And that $G is not defined inside of my block. And so it's not local. And so I'm actually accessing the next one that's found in a scope that includes mine. So it goes up the tree of the scope and it finds the next $G. So if I save this and run it, you'll see that I get this yet another string and this here. And so every time I print out another message, let's just print out this $m here. So this will be the some other string. It will put yet another string at the beginning of it. Let's go ahead and run that. And you see that we get that yet another string every time. So we can use that, of course, if we want to just have, say, the name of the program here. This is scope.pl. And you wanted to maybe identify that everything that gets printed out of here, where it's coming from, you can do something like that. And in that way, you're using the scope as a tool, and rather than having it just be an accident. So this is scope, and this is how it affects functions, and this is how you'll use it. You want to make sure that your local variables are all scoped locally, and you want to make sure that when you're using variables outside of the scope, that you do that intentionally.